Hello friends, welcome back. This is part 32 of Shep's Spiritual Awakening and Destiny to Serve. In this part, I want to continue from my last video where I'd heard a Japanese lady saying, "Neil, may I speak to you from my light?" Now it was 3 days later. Peter came to me and said that on that night, he said, Su Ling with a samurai sword had come into my light. I didn't know why she had a samurai sword at that time. I didn't know there was other criminals in my light, but that's why she had brought it, to protect herself. And she came into my light and she's spoken to me, and because I'd turned to this guide, that she was in grave danger. And what she'd done is run out of my light into Peter's home, and Peter was upstairs with his light open. Now, I have no doubt he knew Su Ling was coming to him, but he didn't say that. I believe Father God had let him know that, and he was just sitting there basically waiting for her, I think, but he never said that. So Su Ling ran upstairs, and she ran into Peter's room, and she ran into his light when it was brighter, and Peter said she went down on her knees and bowed to him and said, "Su Ling, Su Ling, Su Ling." And Peter came into his light, and he was very angry with Su Ling for getting into his light. Obviously, he knew his home was protected because others would try to get into his light, and he didn't want anybody in there. And he said Su Ling was in grave danger getting into my light because I could have gone through in my spatial form and she'd have been blasted into the universe in a million pieces. But of course, Father God would have protected her. I know that because he made Peter aware she was going to be there. Anyway, he calmed down, and Su Ling explained the situation, what was going on. Now, Peter knew what was going on, of course, but he was meant to stay neutral and impartial in this situation, but Su Ling had gone directly to him, and he was a man of great integrity, and he would not let somebody down. He was my friend, my best friend, and I was his too, and he said, went with Su Ling through to the spirit realm, and they stood guard in front of my light, which was still brighter in the spirit realm as it was down here upon the earthly plane, because you have entry from the spirit realm and down here. Now, he didn't say this, Peter, but I know what later figured out what they were trying to do. Now, they had one of my guides in my light that had conspired against me, that they corrupted against me, and they got 3 of their own criminals, a prostitute probably, and 2 thugs in my light, because they didn't trust the guide to stay there all the time. And then they had decided that to seal the fate and keep controlling my guidance, they had kidnapped my Chinese healing guide. This guide in my light had kidnapped my Chinese healing guide and taken her to his own plane, plane 3, where she was being held hostage. And what they were going to do was for this guy to go back through the spirit realm as he did, and then go through his own light back to his own plane 3, and actually abduct her, this Chinese healing guide, back through his light, back into my light, get me to make my light turn down low, and that was it. Basically, it would never be made brighter again, and they'd have a hostage that would never be rescued because they'd be sealed in my light. So that was their plan, and Su Ling had come and off her own back, and from great conscientiousness, obviously, decided to act against them, even though she was being terrorised and threatened not to by these organised crime. So Su Ling and Peter stood at the opening of my light in the spirit realm, and this guy had come back, but he didn't bring the hostage. The hostage was left on plane 3 because the game was up, and I guess he knew it. But he still tried desperately to get back into my light, and Peter had to subdue him and arrest him, and Peter took him to plane 10, to the Citadel, and put him in a dungeon. And for 3 days Peter continuously kept going through, banging on the door, asking where this lady Chinese healing guide was. And after 3 days he told Peter, and the police, whoever policed that plane on plane 3, they went to where this healing guide was being held captive and made 27 arrests of this guide's fellow people, and he was also arrested, I guess, and taken by these people, and this guy was set free. And Peter told me that she had been roughed up quite badly, but she was okay, you know. But since that time, I know they've taken another hostage to still try and control my guides and others around me. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll go on to the next video, which Peter started to tell me about Su Ling. Now, after Peter told me what Su Ling had done, of course, I knew she was a very special person. So I'll tell you about her in the next video. Love and light. Shep, website links, other links below this video.